Hi, you're listening to Mindset, spelled with AI, a weekly tech podcast that is shaping what you know and think about AI. My name is David, and I'm a tech journalist and entrepreneur. And with me here is, as usually, Filip, an AI executive. Filip, which topic did our listeners vote to for us to discuss today? I'll just clarify on our website. You can go to Mindset Podcast. Don't forget to spell it with AI.com. So mindset.com. And there you can vote for a number of topics that you want us to discuss in the future, or you can send us an email with ideas or questions and we will get to them in the future. So what did our listeners vote most?
Yes. Hi, David. Good to see you. So today we're honoring the choice of our listeners and viewers, and that is they wanted us to talk about how AI can, should, and probably should not be used in the process of seeking for a job or applying for a new job.
Right, let's do it. I'm quite curious because I'm kind of in between jobs, and so this is kind of also useful for me.
Exactly. So I would like to use you as kind of a testing sample here. So I think that there's a general understanding that people who deal with AI, being it LLMs or other like generative software, they probably understand that AI can do things. But just from your first impression, and that will be very precious because then we can compare it to the actual tools being used or available. So if you now, as a potential employee seeking for a job, think about AI in this recruitment process, what would be your first thoughts? How would you like to use AI in the job seeking process with what you know about it right now?
So a couple of ways, right? Um, I think most obviously everyone goes with their ideas like, oh, it would be great if it could like generate a really good CV for me,
Mm-hmm.
because that's always a pain of like doing it right. Like, what's the right um, form of the CV? What information do you want there? Who like you're kind of thinking what the HR person on the next side of communication is kind of looking for. Um, then I would say my mind actually went to doing like almost like phantom interviews or like test interviews with the AI, with the chatbot, so you can tell the chat, okay, act as if you were this person, this manager from such and such brand company, and imagine you're hiring me, and give me a potential questions. um and then, quite frankly, I was researching from like by interviews from friends, like, okay, so people I knew went through the process recently, and I just wanted to know, like, okay, so what are the steps nowadays, because it's been a while.
Cool. All right. Well, I'll have a good news for you because I have a set of tools for every step that we can talk through, which I either personally used or researched. But before going that, I think you had a more kind of a high level question to that process of hiring an AI. So let's start with that one, and we can then dive into specific.
Yeah, so from your perspective, right, what would you say are the most significant misconceptions people have about like AI and its impact on job hiring, and so?
That's a very good one to start with, and thanks for asking this question. I mean, we're gonna touch upon them in very detail in soon, so I don't want to fully like spoil the content. But generally speaking, I guess the whole way that people talk and think about AI is that it's going to take everything over, right? So I think it's not unthinkable that many people think that you simply click a button and AI will do like complete process for you, at least until the interview. Maybe some of them hope that even the interview can be kind of taken care for. So that's not really true. And I'm going to talk about, when we're going to go into the details, into the weeds of the specific tools, why I don't think so that's even possible now. And even if it was possible, I would not think it's a good idea. Second misconception, which I think a lot of people have, is as companies are very often more let's say, better financially situated, and many of the tools are paid, I think that many people have a perception that, okay, the usage of the AI tools would be stronger on hiring managers than on a potential employee side. And this is a misconception which I would like to turn out not to be true today with like giving a proof of specific tools. Because if you look at the landscape, there is many more tools and much more usage of the AI actually on the candidate side rather than on the hiring manager side. So actually, I think regular people are playing offense with AI, and the companies are playing a little bit of defense with AI.
Okay, what do you mean? Can you give me an example?
All right. So many people think that, hey, I'm sending like a CV, and let's say thousands of people are sending CVs, so they need to have a very good, sophisticated AI-supported screening process to go through the CVs. Very few companies do. In many companies, it's still about, hey, there's an HR person who actually does the first screening of the CVs in human way. Maybe they use some software, but it's not like in fully automated mode. Many people think that, okay, I throw my CV into like a black box, and no human ever sees it because it's like AI even filtering the CV. So that's not really true for most of the companies yet. And the second misconception on that is that candidates feel that they can, like, they're a little bit in an informational disadvantage, that companies can actually research more by using AI and web search and other things than the candidate can, but actually it's the other way around. So I think that now candidates, with all the transparency and I don't know, officially stock market listed companies and everything, like, you have a bunch of information that you can find out about the company and even about the hiring manager that you're just about to meet, or like past experience of other people going through the interview. So I think that a candidate, if he or she takes an effort, can have actually informational advantage about the companies now if they use the tools properly.
I recently watched an interview with Airbnb CEO, and he was asked about his hiring process. Like, how do you validate, right, the person? Just as you said, right, like the person can, like, there's so much public information, and you can actually, like, many people, if they want to get through, they can act, right? Like, you can act for 2 hours, like you can be the best version of yourself. And he said he's doing a lot of background interviews with like people who work with this person. Like, there's a lot of going there. Yeah, reference check. Is there a way to like, do you see a way?
Yes. Yes, and this is already happening. So I'm gonna touch upon that, and maybe let me use that question to like describe the landscape we're gonna be talking today about. Because we started this dichotomy: is it more like, are the stronger users of the AI the candidate side or the hiring side? So I would appreciate also for our discussion to be separated into two buckets. So let's discuss separately what, if you are a person applying for a job, what you can do in each of the stage with the AI and how can it help, and what you should not be doing also. And then let's leave the company side as a second batch. And maybe let's start with the process as such. So you said you're just been in between the jobs, or you had like recently chance to apply for the job. So when let's imagine that you want to have a job which you really want to have to, like, you have a very you found, or like you think about a very attractive position that you would like to have, so you really are eager to get it. You're not like, okay, who cares? So what would be your steps in the interview without the AI?
Can we go even like 2 steps back? So 2 steps back, my situation, right? So my situation was, I worked somewhere for a decade, decided to leave, and I actually did conduct an interview with a chatbot, with a couple of them, regarding, okay, so here's my skill set, here's my background. What kind of industry would you suggest to me to look for at the moment? I'm keen on doing similar stuff, not specifically, in that particular industry, which was the news media. It can be related, it can be marketing, whatever. So I kind of crafted a longer prompt. I gave it. It gave me some answers back. When I asked like, okay, where would you like look for a job, or how to like, how would you help me like looking for a job? Like that's where things kind of started to go not great. Even the suggestions were kind of like general. I don't want to. I cannot say like I was like super satisfied with what I got back. Maybe like there's always a question like, is it the model? Is it my prompting? Probably my prompting. Um, but still, even if you go to services which you would say like, oh sure, I mean LinkedIn has so much data, so much AI. I'm sure if I go there, they have my profile, they have my public profile, they have like, they see who I interacted with. There must be a button which I push and I get like kind of like they will do the Tinder thing like instead of me, like match me with a couple of like open jobs, and that's not like that's still
No,
not happening. So I was kind of like,
no,
where's the promise of AI?
no, it's not really happening. And I'm gonna make a real story, which is kind of funny here. And it happened to me, I don't know, 2 or 3 quarters back. So it's not like from middle ages of the internet. So actually, exactly, LinkedIn. As you know, I am kind of executive in AI. So I have like a roles of, let's say, VP, SVP, or kind of executive VP of AI. And LinkedIn did dare to suggest me. They reached out with an email and said like, "Hey, we have a great job suggestion for you." And I said, "Cool, we're in AI era, so LinkedIn has a direct suggestion for me. It has to be really good." And it was a tram driver in like Berlin transport, right? So that was the suggestion that they have for me. So yeah, tram driver, which all the respect is like good job, but I have like no qualification for whatsoever. I never ever worked in that kind of job. I don't even have like a proper license for that. And like my skills which I have would be like very difficult to put into the practice in that. So LinkedIn is still like not really in that. So that brings me to the answer to your question. So unfortunately, this I'm not sure where would I like to move further. Maybe I would like to have a career change. What shall it be? In this area, the LLMs and the AI are not very helpful yet. And I would not suggest. But also, to be fair, David, I think a lot of people are probably trying to, like, especially if this is like their third, fourth, fifth job, they probably jump on certain, let's say, activity or a skill set or industry. And not that many people go from like, I don't know, firefighter into sales skills instructor in a kind of a job. I mean, some of them can, and many of them will have to probably in future, as the AI will like take a lot of jobs. But I don't think so. That's a usual use case. So I think a lot of people more or less have an idea of what they would like to do. And that brings me to the first step where the AI can help you, and it is completely underutilized step. Because back then it was believed you need to have like a paid service for that, and that's like a job market research. So it's relatively easy, as the portals which are offering a job, they want to be as open as possible. They don't have any gateways, they don't have any you don't need to have a login in order to see the job posting. So they are very easy to do web scraping on, because like they need to be as available to public as possible. And they even can have like a protection until, like, put it this way, it's not a bad thing if a job ad is seen by 10,000 people. So they will not stop bots from like viewing the job listings. So it's very easy to write a web bot which goes and does a research for you. I was doing this back then when I was trying to, I think it was like last year summer. I was trying to monitor the development of the AI positions in Germany, and I was running a scraper on an unnamed job listing portal, and it was working perfectly. Like I could get exactly how many jobs. In some countries, even salaries are mandatory to be published, at least the ranges, so you can get the feeling for that. So that's a thing which you should do. And many people would say, okay, so how would I do like webbot like that? It's very easy. It's actually, you go into the LLMs which can do good coding. So I would suggest Claude 3.7 now. It's probably the best for that. Also from what the expert says, you tell it an easy prompt. Hey, I would like to have a bot which scans the market for me for this particular position. Boom. In like few minutes, you have a code, you run it, and it gets you a very detailed kind of overview. So I would say that's the first step, which a lot of people underestimate are not happening. And then it comes to a second step still in a research process. So you still have not like decided for which jobs you want to apply. And that is something which you were trying to do, but a little bit in a different perspective. So, okay, when I have these positions, so let's say I want to apply for I don't know, a podcast manager for a media outlet. Would that fit you relatively well?
Yes.
Cool. So you can go and ask the LLM to also, out of the job research that you were doing with the crawler, to get the descriptions of such positions and to extract what these companies are usually looking for. And this is not necessarily to kind of position yourself or like lie about yourself on a CV, but it's about, okay, what skill set are important for them? What are they looking for? What are the necessities which I need to have? So if I don't have it, I don't even need to bother to apply because I will probably fail in one of the interview rounds, which are just to happen. So that's another thing which you can do very easily. You can utilize even like tools for that. There's a job scan tool which does exactly this. So it takes a specific role that you think of, and it like researches the like job postings and what is relevant for that. And then, of course, you can go with regular LLMs. So you can download several job listings and just throw it on an LLM, on a DeepSeek or OpenAI's one of the models, or even like Gemini, and they're gonna summarize for you what is this type of a job looking for and what are the necessities that you should have. And that should be like a pre-check for you for two things. Do I have the skills? And do I have it properly listed on my CV? So here we are. So, okay, what's the next steps then for you when you were looking for the job after you have done some research?
After I've done some research, I would say it's a process, right? So you're trying to craft the CV, which, to be honest, I did. There a lot of services tools have come up. Oh, we will do like a great CV for you. To be honest, I have so far had like a good experience with the CV. Just LinkedIn, just pushes out from the page. Although that's like not strictly a one pager. So I don't know what's the current situation or viewing among HR, whether a one pager versus like a LinkedIn CV is kind of like a red flag or. But yeah, I would say like red CV. Like, how would you suggest to me to do to craft a good CV?
Yes. So maybe I surprise you, but I think there is one more step in this procedure which you should do before you actually craft your CV. And I'm going to try to explain that. So when I was applying for not this one job, which I'm running now, but the one before, I had like a 3 pathways which I wanted to go. And I was fine with each of those, but each of that pathway was having a different preset. So I was either like having a continuing more on the AI specific zone, which I was doing before, or like going more into the product management, or turning more into, let's say, a business utilizing the AI in kind of a business development and strategy. And for each of these pathway, I had a different CV. And it's not that like I would be making this up, but like in my roles, I had like different elements which were kind of useful or playing the tune of that particular streams. So I was having CVs which were emphasizing the ones which are relevant for that pathway and were de-emphasizing or like maybe less visible the other things which still happened. I didn't like omit them, but I was not like putting them extra through, right? So when I was having a CV for product management. So I outlined all product development that I have ever taken part in, right? And what was my role in that. But it was not my only role, because I was doing also other things. So when I was doing the strategy one, I emphasized all the strategic projects I work on, no matter like if they were in a product area or other aspects. So for that one, I think you need to do a little bit of a quasi positioning of yourself. And for that, I think what's the best way, I mean, it's not necessary now anymore, or like you don't see that often, but back then in still like non-AI times, the cover letter or like motivational letter was a very common thing, right? And it was basically the only way for you to really differentiate, because you can't really put in your CV what you want to do and what you believe in, and like how, I mean, you can, but it's like difficult to stand out. And it's probably not the thing which is screened out. And also, like motivational letter is for a different audience within the hiring process, because if you do a CV, it's mainly for the HR team, but motivational letter is maybe for your like future manager to understand how you work, how you think, what is important for you. So what I would suggest for people to do is to like take the type of the role which you got out of the research, or you kind of set yourself up for, and force the LLM to write a motivational letter for that.
May I step in here?
Huh?
Just a note. So my friend did hiring recently. Okay, it was a marketing role in this region, Central Europe, and he told me he now hates motivational letters because the younger generation, or like whatever, who's applying, they're using AI to do these cover letters, and he can't tell which was written by ChatGPT.
And that's exactly where we're getting what not to do.
Okay.
I think you should generate the motivational letter, but not to send it out. I think you should generate the motivational letter for you to understand how to sell yourself.
Okay.
So I would not suggest for AI to do the motivational letter or like a cover letter, at least not the final version of it, maybe like a backbone of it. But why I was suggesting this step even before the CV period is that if you force LLM, and there again, like you can use whatever you want to know, but from the ones which are there, DeepSeek and the newly released GPT 4.5, which is still not available for many people, but will coming soon. These two are probably the best ones if you want to like write something creative about yourself. So these are the best two options. So use one of those to write like a selling story of yours, and then use that selling story to adjust your CV, and also to maybe write a real cover letter, or how to sell yourself on interviews. So create out of yourself a product that you want to like sell on a job market, and use this motivational letter by to kind of make the story complete. Because I mean, we probably know what we are good at, but sometimes you're not good at selling it. So that's what I would say. And then of course, then it comes to the CV part, and I don't want to spend too much time there, because you rightly said there's like a lot of tools which can be useful here. There is enhanced CV.com, and we can leave all those links, by the way, in the notes of the show, so the listeners and viewers can kind of follow that later. There's a career flow for just making the LinkedIn profile better and polishing your profile if you want to use that. But there's also a visual aspect of it. So many people underestimate that. There's even applications for like doing a professional business photos of yourself. So it's an AI generated. You can like take a photo of yourself from party. Well, have to be start of the party, not the end of the party. But you can take your party photo and turn it into professional photo. Like Aragon AI or similar services can even make a professional business looking photo for you, which makes difference. People don't admit it, but it makes difference, because I can tell you, as I am hiring like a lot of people, I go through thousands of CVs every year. Like there needs to be something which sticks in your mind, right? And we are human. It can be even a picture, not for the like you maybe like the person, the way that he or she looks, but the background, it was bad, or something like you have a visual clue in your memory. I remember that CV, there was the guy standing in front of the blue wall, right? So you kind of stand out from the crowd, and have like a memory hook in the recruiter's mind, that I remember that CV. Whereas like if you receive a CV which has like black and white letters, it's very difficult to remember it from the crowd. So that's the CV part. Okay, David, so you have your CV. What comes next then?
Probably sending the CV out, right? Like getting an interview and then going to the interview.
Yes, yes, and I mean, then interview could be probably a very detailed discussion, because you can have technical interviews, which AI can help you different way than the other ones. But so let's touch the interview part and the sending out part. I'll touch the interview part first, even though it's not that logical, because you would have to send the. But I want to save the sending the CVs to the last point of discussion here. So the interviews. So how would you use AI to get ready for the interview or to succeed in interview?
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you, because again, like coming back to the stories that my friend was sharing from conducting a couple of CVs, he had this experience, and he was doing like online interviews and both in-person interviews, right? And he said that he trusted more in-person interviews with the people, because you kind of like very quickly get the sense, although in this like hybrid workplace kind of, distributed situation based on where you work for, who you work for, uh, is like less convenient or maybe impossible for some. I take it for you probably as well. Is uh like you need to do the online interviews, and but he told me like he had very big experience with online interviews, because he thought that some of the candidates did have an AI assistant in front of the screen. And there are actually like a lot of like TikTok videos of this online, where the interviewer wants you to share your desktop so that you're not talking to a like AI, but actually these people have the mobile phone in front, so you cannot see it from the camera, but it is actually there, and the voice mode on the assistant is turned on, so it's basically listening to everything and giving cues, and like you could never prove it, right? But like you can have a feeling. So this is something I was like interested in. How do you so again, like this comes back to what you said, like I am an interviewee and I'm on the offensive, right? And you're playing defense, trying to find out whether the ideas are coming from my head, or is it like an AI that's basically doing the answering.
Yes. So that's a very good point to also open the door to what you should and should not be doing. So my best advice is that no matter how well the setup is going to be done, and it's not an easy way to set it up in a way that your assistant on a phone listens to the interview and like gives you advice, and it's not distorting for you, and it's not obvious that you're looking at it, and so on and so on. So it's pretty complicated to do it, but still, even if it is, we are not in an era that the assistant would help you to ace the interview really well, right? Um, and I it happened to me already as a hiring manager that somebody was using provably was using AI to assist. So what I give an advice to the hiring managers, and this is maybe like indirectly also to the candidates, whenever I have a questions, I run them through the most common AIs to see what the answers would be. And then when somebody starts to answering exactly the same thing, I still accept it. It's perfectly fine that it's maybe the best answer and the candidate has, but then I have a follow-up question, like hidden especially for these cases, which I have tested that the LLM does not get right, right? So there are ways for the hiring managers to still detect that you're using it. So I will say we are not in an era where it is safe for the candidate to rely on the AI. And I think it is still a lot of distraction, because it's pretty stressful that you have somewhere a phone which you need to lie or hide in the interview, but still follow it and kind of use the cues for it, but also on the fly to detect if the things which the AI is suggesting is a complete nonsense or it is somewhat useful. So I would say we're not in an era where this would be helpful. So I would not suggest candidates to use it. Maybe we're going to get there, or surely we're going to get there once, but I don't think we're there yet. And that brings me to another thing which I would suggest not to do, and that is using the AI to automate the sending. And why is it so? So a lot of people think like it's a number game, right? So I send 100 CVs. Out of the 100 CVs, maybe 30 are noted. Maybe I get to 10 interviews, and out of the 10 interviews, maybe I get a 1 and 2 offer, right? So therefore, a lot of people think, okay, the most difficult part here is to send 100 CVs. And in a sense, like companies are pretty stupid, like having their own portals, which you have to fill in, and so it's a painful. I remember when I was looking for one of the jobs, it literally took me like several hours a day just to fill in all the interview procedures. But then there is like fight against it. Like for instance, LinkedIn is going the right way here because they have this easy apply button, and like you upload your CV or like your different CVs even for different roles, and you like pick which CV you want to send, click, the things goes, and you apply. So I don't think so that if you really want to look for the jobs, you have to automate it. And I can tell you that if you do automate, you're going to end up in a problem, because if you allow bots to take all the jobs you're interested in to apply to, what is going to happen? You're going to apply to the many same jobs in the same company, and that is going to get you into trouble. Because what would you think about the candidate, like who there's like 10 tech positions and he applied to all 10 of them, right? Like that's not sending a good signal. It's obviously either a very desperate candidate, or like somebody who doesn't know what he or she wants, or somebody who doesn't care, like simply throws the CV into each of the ones. So it's not a good idea. So even though there is services like AI Apply, which can automate the whole process for you, I would suggest not to use it. Unless like you're in a desperate situation that like you need 3 jobs to stay alive, then probably like you don't care that much and you are ready to play the number game this way. But if you want to get a job which is somewhat, let's say, premium or more complicated or better paid, I don't think so this is a good strategy yet. So have you tried sending the CVs in mass yourself, David?
No, I haven't, but I heard some people doing that. I think maybe one friend even tried that. But then again, I heard back from some of the people on the other hand on the hiring end, which were complaining like, "Oh, we have like this managerial role, and someone with like not good experience applies for it, and actually the hiring software lets you just like very quickly like filter out these applicants nowadays. So that's I guess like one point for the companies. But still, like I don't think anyone loves to hire en masse, especially roles which can be like general, because you just get like hundreds of like CVs, and suddenly like how do you go through that? So I would be maybe interested in like whether companies are using AI tools to screen these, or is there like again like some available service?
Yep. All right. I want to come to the hiring manager side as well, but maybe just the last note to a candidate side. So we discussed the process, but we a little bit omitted the part of getting ready for the interview. So maybe just 2 quick comments to that. So even though I don't suggest you trying to use the LLMs or the AIs directly in the interview for reasons explained a few minutes back, I would suggest for a candidate to use the AI in getting ready for the interview. Because like if you, again, take a profile, you put the profile into the LLM and you ask, so what would be the interview questions if you want to like screen somebody good for this job, right? LLM is going to give you quite a good questions. And then you can go, okay, now we want to make it a hell of an interview, which is super complicated, which almost everybody fails. What kind of questions would you ask? Right? So you can press it even to the extreme, and you can test yourselves on what kind of areas or information might be interesting for the interviewer. And a second area, which is useful, it can give you, again, a research about the people who are kind of looking for. Because you can take a CV, and that's not many people do. You can take a CV of your hiring manager, or you're going to meet, and like throw it into the LLM and ask, like, let's look at the history of this person. What would you suggest is important for this person given his career pathway? And that is a very strong thing, because then can give you a lot of insights about, okay, maybe you don't realize, but maybe he always took like 5 or 6 years to change the job. So he probably might be not super happy about people like jumping jobs every 2 years. Maybe like he advanced every time in a job. So he's probably interested in the growth of a people. And I'm, of course, making this up on the fly, but I mean, this kind of information is super useful. So that's what I would suggest people to. And again, for that, you can use even like a generic LLM tools. You don't have to have any specifics. Or like you can use the plugins into the LinkedIn to make this happen for you as well. Even then, you have to have like a paid version of the LinkedIn, which not that many people do, but that's also the option. Okay, well, that was the candidate side. Now, you've been manager yourself as well, at least in your last job, if I remember correctly. So let's look at it from the other side of the river. If you are a hiring manager, what would you think or dare to use AI now for?
Like, you mean in the whole process, or specifically in this like interview screening?
No. I mean the whole process. You are a hiring manager. You're setting up to hire your new employee. What are the areas where you would already, given your technological background, where you would already expect AI to help you in one form or the other?
Doing the job description, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all the way from like doing the job description, like basically create me a job offering, right? With all that it's needed. So I guess that helps a lot. And then I would love if there was a way, and I'm sure you will tell me there is a way that would automate. So I would set up a special email, right, for getting the CVs. There would be some kind of like automation process that would take those emails, screen them, somehow add some tags to them, or like filter them out and put them in like different buckets, and even like send a thank you note back, and then I would just like sit down and say, oh, okay, so based on the automation I set up, these are the top 3-5 CVs you need to look at. Again, still in my head, I would be like, oh, haven't I missed someone? Like, these LLMs.
Yep. So here another like advice from a seasoned hiring manager and now seasoned hiring manager trying to think about the AI side of it. What you describe, of course, was a promise, not always delivery, but a promise of many HR systems and hiring platforms. Like they say, okay, we do a screening, like we do a qualification, or maybe like we calculate a percentage of a match of a candidate with what you want for. I would say this looks almost like a commodity, but it's not there. Because most of the tools which were doing this were developed and coded before the AI era. And they were mainly focusing on a keywords matching or like looking for phrases, but not really holistically understanding. Like, for instance, they would not be able to tell the overqualified candidate from just a qualified candidate, or they would not be able to tell an underqualified candidate with great potential, which maybe is worth giving a chance to close the gap in skills, because given the record how he or she was quickly learning in past, it's going to be maybe a question of a month or two until the person gets there. So these kind of things are not, the software cannot do. And funny enough, it's probably still worth to invest time into training your own LLM or like fine tuning the LLM for that. because the value added is higher than the portal or the kind of platforms that are offering for many of them. There are some of them who jump on the AI train as well, but many of them still don't. So yes, like screening of the candidates is an area where AI can help a lot. And simply like you have maybe a short list of candidates, you have 20 of them, throw all 20 CVs in them and let them, the LLMs, to compare each other and tell you like which seem to be better in which dimensions. And maybe you don't even choose on suggestion, but makes you think like, okay, I was maybe ignoring this dimension of candidate comparison, and now AI is telling me that they are differing on this dimension. So maybe I start thinking about those lines as well. So that's definitely a screening. All right. So after the screening CV, so maybe you have a candidate which you find kind of okayish. What are the next areas where you would dare to use AI in the hiring process as a hiring manager?
To be honest, this is where I get stuck in
Really?
terms of like
Wow.
thinking what else AI can help with, because I think there's some step where you kind of need to, put your human self into, and this would be the step I would be thinking like, okay, so from now on the person takes on, because before this step you could probably automate a lot of stuff, and if you trust those systems, you could just like get down to the interviewees.
Yep. All right. Well, I was kind of surprised, but also not surprised. So I'm surprised that you're saying so, because many people saying so, because the options are so much wider. But to be honest with you, this is also where many other hiring managers get stuck. So I'm not kind of being surprised by your reaction on the other side of the coin. The reason for that is because there's a lot of things where it gets a little bit creepy as well, right? So so the question is, can you have AI to lead the interview first place? And we are in a position it would, because like maybe the candidate answers are unstructured, but the questions you want to ask are relatively structured, right? Especially like in early stages of an interview or a technical interview, right? Like there's very specific questions. So maybe there would be a way for the AI to lead the interview. And I have to tell you, I did experience such a kind of interview, and it was super awkward for the candidate. So what I'm just briefly what it looked like. It was a video interview. So I was on a video cam. The video was recorded, and it was flashing on a screen questions for me, and then giving me a time limit to answer the question, right? And it was like super hard, super hard. And like if you look at it from the hiring manager perspective, it's ideal, because you don't have to sit through the interviews. AI is going to analyze the video, even things which you can't analyze, like the emotions, the reactions, maybe like where the candidate sounded unsure given the voice change and so on. So it can give you all of kind of information. But I have to say that I didn't really appreciate the company after I went through that interview. And if I was asked for like a reference, would suggest anybody to take that interview? I would say probably no. So I think that the possibilities of the AI here in like leading the interviews, evaluating the interviews, and other things is pretty okay. I think the bare thing which you probably can do is like doing a transcript. Yes, and in the process of like finalizing the interviews, the AI side seems to be more capable than should be used for. So even though, if you remember, I had some reservations on the candidate side, what AI should and could be used for and shouldn't be, I would say on the hiring manager side, I would not go all the way into using it for like policing or even leading the interview process. Maybe what I would consider for objectivity reasons, and this can be probably explained to the candidate, is having a transcript. But again, the risk with the transcript is that if you say that it needs to be recorded, they might behave slightly differently that they would otherwise. That's the point for that. So is there any other area that you as a candidate or as a hiring manager wanted to check with regards to the AI?
How about screening for micro expressions? Like, like there was this dystopian idea of like
Mhm.
having it on camera and then analyze the interview.
Yes. So the thing is that you would have to ask a consent for it, at least in EU, right? Maybe like in different jurisdictions may be different, but in EU you would have to ask explicit consents to record it and to use it. And I think that people will find it a little bit creepy. They will still have no way to defend against it, so it's a little bit kind of giving an upper hand to the company. But then the question is, what are you really looking for? Like, I think unless this is a very sensitive role in terms of like the person needs to be behaving in a very specific way. Maybe it's like key account managers for like a super top clients, and you have to be super sure about his or her behavior. But then I'm not sure if like a single remote interview would do for that. I guess for these kind of positions, probably would pay for candidates to arrive in person to the interview and check it maybe on a spot, and then maybe like do it on a camera locally as well. So that's the way I think about those aspects.
So basically an overkill for a basic interview.
I would say so.
Okay, so where does it land us? Like what's the future?
Yeah, so yeah, if I kind of summarize of what we talked today about is, I think if you're not using AI in your recruitment process or getting a job, you're already being your own enemy, because there's a lot of things which you can add, and not necessarily in kind of trying to fake position yourself or like lie about or yourself in an interview process, but about making sure that you shine enough and that you understand what really the match is, that you only go after the job. So like doing the research of the market, of the position, of the person which you're going to meet with, understanding how well to sell this story. These are all the things that you should do now because they are for free. And like, why wouldn't you want to have your chances improved by this being done? So that is the candidate side. I would say refrain from using AI in the interview because it's still not mature enough not to be detected, and then it might leave a bitter feeling on the hiring side that you're trying to use AI to in the interview. Even not, it's not explicitly forbidden. That is also important to say, unless the interviewer says that you can't use. It's not forbidden, but it also leaves a little bit of a bitter feeling. So I would refrain still from using it because it's not. You'll be detected one way or another. And for the hiring side, of course, like the shield of against the number of CVs coming, and then probably researching the candidates and maybe kind of summarizing their interview results by either a transcript or if you write a good interview card, like a report from the interview, maybe like analyzing the reports and telling you the candidates. And in the early stage, I would prefer for the companies to use it like take sample of the CVs and ask LLM which stands for which criteria, because it's going to broaden your horizon what you should think about, how to think about the hiring process as such. That would be my suggestion for the AI hiring for now. And well, great. Thanks for the listeners for the topic. I really enjoyed talking about it. I don't know how about yourself, David, but I think it was really fun to look at this from the AI corner as well.
No, definitely. Thank you for like your insights. I mean, it's kind of valuable for me at this time as well. So definitely a good topic to dissect, and I think it will. We might come back to it in a couple of months and see whether the landscape changed. I would be surprised if LinkedIn doesn't do anything, like come up with anything. I'm just like puzzled, like if there's like a platform like a social platform
Mm-hmm.
that would like double down on something like this, and if they could nail it, I mean there's like money in it, right? Like there's
Mm-hmm.
revenue, like I'm sure companies would be willing to, oh yeah, sure, I mean I give you so much money, so if you can like spare me the time of my managers to do interviews, because it's like it's time you could spend like earning money
It
and
is
not doing
investment,
interviews.
really. It is. All right. Well, thanks for talking about it this time. Where can the listeners suggest another topic for us?
So, as mentioned in the beginning, go to the mindsetpodcast.com website. That's mindset podcast.com. So mindset spelled with AI, and there you can find a poll where you can suggest where you can vote for topics, right, or even suggest topics. So do that, and I think that's all for this episode. As usually, find Mindset Podcast in your favorite podcast app, listen to their, subscribe, follow. And we're also on YouTube. If you're not watching us on YouTube, go to YouTube. Again, if you go to the description of the podcast, the show notes, you can find the link to our YouTube channel there. Don't forget to subscribe and set up the notifications so you can get the newest episodes as they appear. And you can also follow us on LinkedIn. We do share stuff there as well about AI and related topics. You more, I do more general tech news there, but still, I think useful.
Yes, and maybe see in one of the AI interviews.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Filip, and bye. It's been great.